The incident was discovered on May 12, 2025, when Mr. Vu and his wife detected a strange smell in their home and hired someone to come and check. The house was a one-story dwelling, nestled deep in a winding alley in District 12. It had become the new home of Mr. Nguyen Van Vu's family for more than 3 months. Though it wasn't too spacious or convenient, it was warm and cozy enough for the couple and their 3-year-old child. They had bought the house from an elderly woman named Hong, who was said to have moved to Dalat to live with her children. At first, life was peaceful. But starting around mid-April, Mr. Vu began to notice a strange, foul odor near the kitchen. A musty smell, moldy, mixed with something indescribable. At first, he thought it might be a leaking sewer pipe or a dead rat somewhere inside the wall. He and his wife cleaned thoroughly, sprayed insecticide and deodorizers repeatedly, but the smell persisted. By early May, it became increasingly intense. There were nights the whole family couldn't sleep because the strange smell clung to the air. His wife, Mrs. Lin, suspected the hidden drainage pipe inside the wall might have cracked, causing dirty water to seep out over time. Mr. Vu decided to hire a worker to inspect it. At noon on May 12th, when the worker drilled into the wall next to the kitchen, everything seemed like routine repair work, until the drill bit sank deeper into the old cement and a faint popping sound was heard. The wall cracked. The bad smell immediately turned into the stench of death, an overwhelming, rotting odor so intense that everyone present had to cover their noses and gag. The mason panicked and shouted, "There's something in here. This is not a water pipe." Mr. Vu came closer and used a hammer to break a few more spots. A piece of translucent plastic appeared behind the layer of cement. When he pulled at it, a discolored, decomposed piece of human flesh emerged, pale purple and rotting, causing the whole group to recoil in horror. Just seconds later, Mr. Vu's wife screamed 7 times and ran out of the house with their child. Mr. Vu, with trembling hands and a pale face, hurriedly called 113. Less than 20 minutes later, the local ward police and civil defense force arrived, immediately cordoning off the entire area. Curious neighbors crowded around the alley, whispering and speculating. News about a body hidden inside a residential wall quickly spread throughout the neighborhood, like wildfire through a dry forest. The Criminal Police Department of Ho Chi Minh City, PC-02, also arrived swiftly with forensic equipment. At the scene, the body was identified as a female, wrapped in multiple layers of plastic and old cloth, stuffed deep into a wall cavity that was not part of the house's original design. A forensic officer whispered to Captain Nguyen Minh Tuan, who had just been assigned to lead Special Task Force 71H, to investigate the case. The victim had been dead for a long time, at least more than half a year. There were signs of a severe head injury. No personal identification was found. Captain Tuan stood in silence, surveying the narrow house that had hidden such a horrifying crime. A murder case with the body concealed right in the heart of the city, in a densely populated neighborhood. It spoke volumes about the calculated and cold-blooded nature of the killer. The task force officially began operations that same evening. Detectives were urgently deployed. One team focused on examining the scene and identifying the victim. Another team traced the house's history and former owners and checked local missing person reports. On the night of May 12th, light rain drizzled outside the house's porch. Inside, a harsh yellow light shone on the decomposed body, marking the start of a long and intense investigation. A horrifying secret had been uncovered from the smell, seeping through what seemed like an ordinary wall, and it was only the surface of a buried iceberg. On the morning of May 13th, Special Task Force 71 held an emergency meeting at the headquarters of the Criminal Police Department of Ho Chi Minh City, PC-02. Captain Nguyen Minh Tuan, the task force leader, laid out the case files on the table, forensic photos, and site diagrams. At the crime scene, traces of blood seeping along the concrete wall were enlarged and examined. Nearly the entire elite investigation force of PC-02 had been mobilized. The female victim, wrapped in plastic and hidden inside the wall, had no identification, no distinguishing tattoos, and the corpse had decomposed to level 4. Initial assessment estimated the time of death to be around 69 months ago. Lieutenant Hong, the forensic officer, reported 3 key points. The body had a fractured occipital bone, suggesting a strong blow to the back of the head with a blunt object. However, there were no signs of dragging or resistance, indicating the murder likely occurred right there in the house, and the victim had no chance to defend herself. The task force quickly divided into teams. Team 1 focused on tracing the victim's identity using the citywide missing persons database. Team 2 investigated the property's transaction history, especially between June and December of 2024, the suspected period of the crime. Team 3 narrowed down people who had lived in, rented, or frequently visited the house during that time. By the afternoon of May 13th, using data from the local ward police, Team 2 identified the previous owner of the house as Ms. Nguyen Thi Hong, a 62-year-old woman who had sold the house to Mr. Vu. Ms. Hong had lived there with a niece named Tram, a 25-year-old who worked as a freelance nail technician and was not officially registered for residency. The investigation team immediately contacted Ms. Hong using the phone number she had provided when selling the house. She appeared surprised and evasive. "I've moved to Dalat already. I have nothing to do with this anymore, officers. Back then I lived alone." Ms. Hong quickly hung up after that vague response. Realizing that Ms. Hong might be hiding something, Team 2 quickly coordinated with the Dalat City Police to verify her residence. But according to the records, Ms. Hong had never registered her address in Dalat, nor was she currently living with any children there. This made the investigation team even more suspicious. They asked Mr. Vu for the original house sale contract, which was fortunately still kept in a folder under the bed. According to the documents, Ms. Nguyen Thi Hong had sold the house on February 10th, 2025, just over 3 months before the body was discovered. Backtracking further, the team discovered that from August 2024 until that sale date, Ms. Hong had indeed lived in the house with her niece Tram, who had suddenly gone missing around late October. Mr. Vu also recalled that when he moved in, the house had been cleaned up, but the kitchen wall still showed signs of having been patched with new cement, which matched the exact area where the body was found. Detective Bin, who was analyzing neighborhood CCTV footage, found something else. In a camera from October 29th, around 9:30 in the morning, Tram was seen entering the house but was never seen coming out again. The same evening, Ms. Hong was seen carrying 2 large plastic bags to a trash point nearby. The bags were too big to contain household trash. Everything started to come together. The police obtained a temporary arrest warrant, and by the evening of May 14th, Ms. Hong was escorted from a rental unit in Baolok, a town near Dalat. Her demeanor was calm, but her eyes avoided direct contact with the investigators. When asked about Tram, she simply said, "We lost touch. She moved away." But the evidence was already stacking up like bricks in a sealed wall. Under initial questioning at the station, Ms. Hong remained calm and denied all allegations. She claimed she hadn't seen her niece Tram in months and believed Tram had returned to her hometown. However, when investigators laid out all the evidence, including CCTV footage, property records, the timeline of the disappearance, and the forensic match of the body's estimated time of death, Ms. Hong began to show signs of hesitation. It wasn't until investigators mentioned that a DNA sample would be taken from the remains for comparison with Tram's known records that Ms. Hong finally broke down. With trembling hands, she asked for a glass of warm water and then began her confession. On the night of October 29th, 2024, she and Tram had a severe argument. Tram had asked to borrow money and threatened to sell family jewelry that Ms. Hong had hidden. The confrontation escalated into a fight. In a fit of rage, Ms. Hong picked up a stone mortar from the kitchen and struck Tram in the back of the head. Tram collapsed instantly. Blood spilled onto the floor. Hong panicked. She locked the doors, dragged the body to the kitchen corner, and over the next 2 days, wrapped it in plastic and cloth, then stuffed it inside the wall cavity. Using leftover cement and bricks from a past repair, she sealed the wall as if nothing had happened. When questioned about why she didn't report the incident, she simply replied, "I was afraid. I didn't mean to kill her, but I didn't know what else to do." The confession shocked even the seasoned investigators. It wasn't a carefully premeditated murder, but it was a horrifying act of fear and desperation. A life had been lost, buried within a wall, while the world outside went on as if nothing happened. Ms. Hong was officially charged with manslaughter, concealing a body, and obstruction of justice. During her trial in early June of 2025, she appeared in court wearing a light gray prison uniform, her hair tied back, her face pale and aged. The courtroom was silent as she recounted the night of the incident in a broken voice filled with regret. Despite her confession and cooperation with investigators, the court emphasized the severity of her actions. She had taken a life and buried the truth inside a wall for months. The final verdict: 15 years in prison. No appeal was filed. The body of the victim, Tram, was later cremated and brought back to her hometown by her estranged mother, who had not seen her in over 4 years. Outside the courtroom, a light drizzle fell across the city, as if the sky too was mourning the silent tragedy that had unfolded behind brick and mortar. The house in District 12 was sealed for investigation and later abandoned. Neighbors still recall how a simple smell led to the discovery of a horrifying secret, one that had slept behind concrete while children played just a few meters away. It was not just a story of crime, but a reminder of how isolation, anger, and fear can turn ordinary people into something unimaginable. Sometimes, it is the walls we trust the most that hide the darkest truths.